Hi, I'm Andrew from Markertek here today to show you how easy it is to build your own high-quality XLR cables using Neutrik's XX series connectors and Mogami Neglex quad cable. The successor of the Neutrik X series, XX connectors offer several new features which make them more reliable, easy to assemble, and improves contact integrity as well as cable strain relief. These robust and affordable connectors really are the next generation of the worldwide accepted XLR connector standard. Mogami 2534 Neglex quad cable is perfect for studios suffering from wiring and grounding problems, and should also be used where intense RFI interference is a problem. Mogami 2534 provides an improvement in signal to noise of 10 to 20 dB over equivalent twisted pair cables. Double conductor quad cables are more effective in canceling noise that can get past even the best of shields and is critical in an environment of high RF and EM interference. Together, these cables and connectors make for an excellent cable build for a variety of applications. In addition to the connectors and cable, the tools you'll need are simple. Here in our shop, we use only lead-free rosin core silver solder. Not only is it less harmful to the environment, but it also provides improved conductivity performance and a lower melting point and is ideal for general purpose repair and assembly use. Alright, so I've got some Mogami 2534 cable here. We're going to make a 6-foot XLR cable, male to female. So I'm going to grab my Neutrik NC-MXX and FXX connectors. First step, always put the boots on first. Now that we've got the boots on, we're going to take one of our jacket strippers here, and this one is rated for RG59 coax. It fits perfectly with this cable. We're going to take off about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. The nice thing about the FXX series is that the chuck is a little bit longer. So when you strip off the jacket here, you don't have to be as close to the tip as you had to be with the old series. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull back some of the copper shielding, get that over to one side, and we're going to twist that together to go into our shield cup. Next, I'll fan out the conductors. There's a little plastic insert in there. So we can take our snippers and cut that out. That is another aspect of the noise reduction. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. You want to get a nice tight twist with your shield. And we'll fan out the conductors. Snip our insulation, being careful not to hit any of the conductors. All right, then we've got our wire strippers here. This is the 16 gauge to 26 gauge. We're going to be using the 22 gauge to expose some of the conductors so that we can twist them together. And with this, you're doing about 1/4 of an inch, enough that you can get the wires to twist together. You can always trim it back a little if you have to when you get to the connector. All right, so now we've got 2 white conductors and 2 blue conductors. What we want to do is we want to combine the 2 whites and the 2 blues together. In this process, what you want to do is you want to fan out the exposed copper. And what you do is, if you bend one of them and push it into the cable, into the wire, you can then twist them together and they are fully interlocked. Now there are many methods you can use to do this, some more efficient than others, but this is the method that I like because it gives you the best signal, less interference. So again, we're going to bend it over, push it in, and twist. And again, you want to have a nice tight twist. So there we have one side prepped and ready to go. We'll do the same thing over here. First we'll take our white conductors, fan out the copper. And twist. All right, now that we've got everything nice and neat, we're going to want to tin the tips of these cables with solder so that they'll be able to go into our connectors. Now there's several different ways that you can tin your wires. Some people like to use a vise and put the cable in there and then take the solder and the iron onto it at that point. I like to use a handy solder holder here, available here at Markertek. And this makes it very easy. You don't have to hold the solder. You can kind of leave it in place and move your iron and your wire around as needed. So I'm going to clean off my iron here in my brass wool. Get a little bit of solder on my tip and then bring it onto the tip. Hold it for a second, let it flow, take the tip away. Again, a little solder on the tip. Hold it to the wire, let it flow, pull it away. You don't want to spend too much time with the solder on there or else the jacket can start to melt downwards, exposing more copper. Now with the shield, you don't want to go too far down with the solder. The way that the Mogami is made, it's you want to make sure it doesn't melt the wires inside under your jacket right here, because once you press it, you could lose some of the jacket and have a short. So we're just going to solder enough to get about 3/4 of this wire tinned. And I have a little bit exposed there, that way it's not going all the way down underneath the jacket. Now we'll do the same thing for our other side, make sure our twists are still tight. And there we go. Our cable is now prepped and ready to go into the connectors. So now we will get the connectors ready to take the wire. What I'm going to do here is use my vise to put the connector in. Another great feature with the XX series with the female connectors is there's now a separation between the solder cup and the actual pin. The X series had the ability for the solder, if you use too much, to flow through the pin and get to the actual contact area where the male mates with it. So this is a great improvement to this. So you can put enough solder in that you need for your wire without worrying about it getting into the pins. All right, so now we're going to fill up our cups. I like to have a little bit of solder on the side so that I don't have to pull it away from here. It's a lot easier to just use my hands. I also like to give a little arc on the solder so that none of the rosin spits up at my fingers. We are dealing with very hot temperatures here, so we're going to get a little solder on the tip, drop it in the cup, and then just let the solder drop in. And you want enough solder in there that it's going to be able to catch the conductors, but not so much that it's overflowing. When you have too much solder in your cup, you run the risk of signal jumping between the pins. All right, so this is our female side. So I will get this ready, and this is where some hand tools can help you a little bit. I like to kind of position my conductors and my shield in a way that they're easily going to drop into the cups. So I'll give a little bend to the white and the blue wires. And I'll use a little needle nose pliers to bend the shield just a little bit so that I have the same layout as the connector. Of course, pin 1 will have our shield on it, pin 2 will have our hot, which is going to be our white wires, and pin 3 will have our cold, which is going to be the 2 blue wires. I'm going to trim these back just a little bit so they all line up and fit in nicely. We're again going to put a little bit of solder on our tip. Get the cup hot so that the solder melts, and we can drop the wire right in. Do the same thing for the blue. And always check, make sure your solder is done flowing, make sure it has solidified again before you move anything so your wire doesn't pop out. And then last we'll put the shield in pin 1. All right, so our female side is done. Now we're going to take the male connector, which has the exact opposite orientation, but we're going to do the same thing. Going to put it in our vise. Going to put some solder in our cups, not too little, not too much. And with the male, you'll see a little bubble pop up. That's the air bubble set at the back of the cup. Coming forward, that means you got all your solder in the cup. All right. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this one and position my wires so that they fit nicely into the cups. Trim them down just a little bit so they're not too long. Get the shield the same length. And again, pin 1 will be our shield, pin 2 will be our hot, pin 3 will be our cold. All right, we'll let the solder solidify, then we can take it out. At this point, I like to let these cool down a little bit before I put the rest of the connector together. Just for that same reason, I want the wires to be able to cool down so that we don't ruin any of the jacket. What we've got now is we've got our shells and our chuck to put in. Now, the nice thing about the XX series is the thread is on the inside now, so there's a lot less chance that it will get damaged. The other beauty is that you have the ability to have multicolored boots, different colored rings. The rings work perfectly when you're trying to have a low profile. A lot of people like to use the black and gold connectors, and then they can have the color rings to designate the different channels. A little less subtle, but just as nice, is the colored boot, which they have in many different colors. So it makes it very easy to identify cables when you're out in the field or in the studio. So now what we want to do is we want to take our chuck and get it onto the cable. There are 2 slots alongside the connector that the chuck fits into. Slide those into place. Slide your shell over, making sure that it's flush with the outside. Pull your boot up, twist, and you're connected. You want to make sure you get it as close to the top as you can. This will pull the chuck down across the cable, giving it strain relief. So the added length of the chuck and the actual bigger teeth now on the chuck give you a lot more strain relief, so you can, for cables that are a little bit more active out in the field, you've got a little more confidence that they're going to last longer. And now we'll put the chuck on our male side. Again, there's 2 slots on the side to designate where the chuck slides into. Slide our connector shell on and our boot. So there you have it. With just a few tools and a little practice, you can quickly and easily build the perfect XLR cable for your exact needs. Neutrik's XX series connectors are available in a variety of styles, including heavy duty and premium. And Mogami 2534 cable is available in 9 different colors by the foot or in rolls. Everything you need to build your next cable is right here at Markertek.